Hi everyone, happy 4th of July. Well, right now in this video it's 4th of July. You'll probably be seeing this a couple days later. If I was a responsible YouTuber, I probably would have filmed this a couple days ahead of time, pretended it was 4th of July, already gotten it all edited, and then posted it on today, the actual 4th of July. So, I apologize for being late. Behind me is the amazing, beautiful, drop-dead, gorgeous Autumn, my wife.
Hi.
She got all dolled up just to stay at home because of our world pandemic situation. So I hope that I'll be able to convince her to get in front of the camera so you can see her beautiful artwork. She looks gorgeous. Anyway, today we will be baking a pie inspired by the 4th of July. And you can follow along and just do a different design on top. That's it. We're just going to make the top crust look like an American flag, but we are making a blackberry and raspberry pie. Now, pies are hard. To get the right pie crust consistency, you need to be very delicate. When I think of a good pie crust, it needs to be flaky and buttery and just that perfect brown. And in order to achieve that, you need to be working with really cold ingredients. You need to give it the right time to prep. It's just a little tricky. Now, if you wanted to just have a vessel to get delicious pie filling to your mouth, maybe already pre-made pie crust would be the way to go. But if you really want that delicious, flaky butteriness, homemade is the way to go. In the meantime, while we're baking this pie, Autumn will be taking very detailed shots of the pie making process, and she will also post the recipe of the pie on her website, autumnamelia.com. I'll post the link down below in the description so you can check that out as well. So let's get started. So we're going to start with our pie crust first because that takes the most prep time. We have to refrigerate it for at least an hour in order to get the desired texture that we're looking for. This particular recipe makes 2 pie crusts. And if you watched my cookies and cream macaron video, you know our little baby food processor sucks. So we are going to make 1 pie crust first and then the second, because if we try to make both pie crusts at once in this food processor, it's going to gum it up and be a disaster like the macarons were. So first we're going to add, this recipe's half. So originally we add 1.5 cups. For this one, since we're halving it and doing it 2 times, we're doing 3/4 cup of flour. We want unsifted flour for this recipe in order to get that flakiness that we want. Next, we add 1 teaspoon of salt. Again, this is half, so we're doing 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And just 1 tablespoon of sugar, so here goes in the 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. Now we're going to mix this all together until it's well mixed. Now that our dry ingredients have been mixed, we need to put in the pie crust main defining ingredient, which is butter. So to make 2 pie crusts, we'll need 2 sticks of butter or 1 cup. Since we're halving it, we'll just do 1 stick. We want to use very cold butter, so be careful handling this because we don't want to warm it up. I know it sounds like we're being very particular about our butter, but the coldness really does affect the texture of the pie crust. So you want your butter to stay nice and cold in order to get those flaky chunks. So we're going to cube this stick of butter and add it to our dry ingredients in our food processor until a nice consistent paste is formed. So let's get started. Okay, little food processor is working for now. Let's test them out a little bit more. We add 1 extra cup of flour to this. In our case, since we're halving it, we're doing only 1/2 cup. As you can see, if we had done the original amount, our food processor would be overflowing at this point. So let's see how he handles just 1 more 1/2 cup. Okay, we have a well-blended mixture. Let's get this into a bowl before we add some water. Okay, and if this was the whole recipe, we'd add 6 to 8 tablespoons of very ice-cold water. In this case, we're going to start with 3, so you should start with 6 if you're doing the whole recipe, and then add a little more if it's not the desired consistency that you're looking for. Now we're just going to mix this up. I like to use my hands because I like to feel nice and primitive, like I'm some kind of professional baker, so don't mind me. Alright, you want it mixed to about this level. You want to be careful not to over mix it because that will make your dough really tough. That's not what we're looking for. In my case, I didn't need any extra water than what we initially added. You kind of want it more on the drier side to get that nice flaky texture that we're looking for. So let's transfer our dough ball to some saran wrap, and we want to make this into a nice flat disc. We'll probably flatten it more after we wrap it up. Just make sure it's completely wrapped. Let's flatten it up. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle or anything. It's just so it's easier to manipulate once we take it out and it's still cold and refrigerated. And now we are going to transfer this to the fridge for at least an hour to cool off. While we do that, we'll be making our second pie crust, but you don't need to see that because you already saw the first one being made. So while we wait for our pie crust to chill, let's go ahead and make the filling. To start with, I'm going to mix 1 cup of sugar and 4 tablespoons of cornstarch to really thicken up that filling. Mix it up. Next, we'll add our main component of our pie, 4 cups of raspberries and 3 cups of blackberries. And we're just going to toss them in our mixture until all of the berries are well coated. Wow, look at that. I think we have our pie filling all ready to go into our pie. Now we just have to wait till they are finished cooling in the fridge, and we will go on to the next step. Alright, it's been a while since we put these in our fridge. They are nice and cool. Let's roll them out and put them in our pie dish. Alright, then you want to put your pie crust over your rolled dough just to make sure that it will cover the whole surface. You want a little bit of extra around the edge. I know it's kind of close right there and right there. Don't worry, we can go ahead and patch that later after we get it into the pan itself. So this looks like a decent size for me. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to fit this into the pan. So this is a little trick that Autumn taught me when we were first into pie making. You grab the rolling pin and then you kind of just roll it along. You gotta still be careful that it doesn't rip and tear around the edges, but it is a at least decent way of getting it into the pan rather than just trying to pick it up yourself, because it is a very delicate dough. So we have our dough, and then you get your pie dish into center there. I'm just speaking nonsense at this point. And looks like I laid it out a little too in front, but now you can kind of just seat it into the pie dish itself. And you can seal up any cracks or anything as you go along. It's not a big deal. Alright, we have our dough in our dish now. As you can see, there's imperfections all around, just trying to make it smooth and consistent. But as we like to say around here, we're just gonna eat it, and it's gonna be delicious. One thing you can do around the edge now at this point is you can do a little design. It all just depends on how artistic you want to get. If you want it to just be flat, that's fine. You can also do little tine marks with the fork, or you can do like this move where you do the wave on the pie crust. I was thinking about doing it like this, but I actually think I'm just going to lay it flat. I just decided, executive decision, sorry Autumn, I just made this decision as we are filming. So we're just gonna leave it flat because we're going to do a top crust anyway, so I think that will be best. I think now it's time to add our delicious berry filling to the pie crust. Make sure it's evenly spread out. Dude, I'm so excited.
It's a good pie.
Okay. Now before we add the top crust, we need to add more, you guessed it, butter. 2 tablespoons, in fact, of unsalted butter. And we'll just sprinkle it around our delicious berry filling. All right, looks good. Let's go ahead and roll out the top crust now. We have our top crust all rolled out and it's ready for a design. You can go as fancy as you want. You can just cover the pie and poke some holes in the top and that'd be fine too. Lest we forget that today, as of filming, is the 4th of July, so we will do stars and stripes for our great nation. I'm just going to use a simple star cookie cutter to do some stars. And then we are also going to roll stripes with a pizza cutter. I'm going to make them nice and thick so they cover up most of the pie. I can't roll a straight line for the life of me, so. Alright, we have our stripes and our stars all cut out. We're going to assemble them on the pie now. So we'll do stripes going across right here and then some of these star pieces. We'll just put those in the corner right there to give the flag effect that we're looking for.
I'm gonna help. I think like that's just fine for the stars. Your stripes are perfection.
Your stars are perfection. So now that we have our design, we'll just kind of press it up against our crust here. We don't want it to slip off. Although, if it did fall off the edge and just sit on top, it wouldn't be the end of the world because it will just float on top. No big deal. Get the little stars on there.
Thank you.
And we'll just trim around the excess. Now, any extra pie dough that you have left over, if you are worried about it going bad, you can freeze it up to 6 months, I believe. It stays for a very long time. Although, we did try using pie crust frozen from last Thanksgiving, and it didn't taste that great. So that's why we're not using that today. How much time between Thanksgiving and 4th of July?
So it's 8 months.
Oh, okay, so that's 8 months, and it tasted stale and bad. So the 6 months I think is a good number. So you can, with your extra dough, we actually have plenty left over. You can wrap it up in saran wrap, throw it in your freezer, just make a pie within the next 6 months and you should be fine. You can always find an excuse to make a pie. So before we pop this in the oven, we have one last step. I told you that pies were hard. You didn't believe me, but now you do. We're going to do a egg wash, and there's multiple ways to make an egg wash. We just mix an egg with a tablespoon of water into this nice consistency, and we're just going to brush it on top. This is going to give us that beautiful golden brown crust that we're looking for. Just make sure to brush all the little stars.
You can be very generous with it.
Very generous. I'm always very generous. In all my doings.
It's just gonna help it not burn
Yeah, good call.
as well.
You are so wise. You are an expert pie maker. Looking great, guys. I think we're ready to put this in the oven. I'm going to do it at 400 degrees for 45 minutes or until it's golden brown and the filling is bubbling. Hi, we're over by the oven now. I just took the pie out of the oven and it is looking delicious. Not to mention the smell. It is so buttery in my house right now. I'm so excited to eat this, but we have to wait for it to cool. Well, guys, we attempted to take a slice out of the pie and it just turns out that the filling is really, really runny. You're not gonna be able to get a solid slice of pie. In hindsight, maybe we probably should have put in more cornstarch or some kind of thickening agent, but hey, runny pie, still good pie. We're just gonna eat it. So let's take a bite and see how this tastes. I just got that really big blackberry with that crust. It's really, really buttery. That is like we put in, I think it was 2 sticks of butter and then 2 tablespoons. And it comes through and it tastes delicious. And it just pairs so well, that like salty pastry taste. It pairs so well with kind of the sweet and tartness of the fruit. I would definitely recommend giving this pie a chance. Just be prepared, you're probably going to be using a spoon instead of a fork just because of how runny it is. If you visit autumnamelia.com, Autumn will post really high definition photos of the pie. She does great work, and she will also go into more depth about the recipe. So please check it out in the description down below. Autumn, come on over here. Come show the people off. You did all this work too.
I'll come if I can have a bite of pie.
Yeah, come on. You help make it. Let's see what you think.
We make good pie.
Look at her. She got all dolled up. She didn't have anywhere to go because we're shut in, but
yeah,
she's gorgeous.
I'll get dolled up just to sit at home and eat food and watch movies.
Yeah. You want some crust? Let's get you gotta assemble this. Let's get a really
It's gonna be warm. It's just right. It's out of the.
We'll get you one berry.
That's a huge bite.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It's runny, but it's good.
It's good. Let's get a little vanilla ice cream on that and call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say goodbye to your friends.
All right. Do you know my sign off?
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Bye.